How's it going, everyone? Now, Trading212 released several new dividend-based stocks back in mid-January, and I'm going to be going through all these different stocks that were added and taking a look at each stock individually. Now, I'm also going to be talking about an article relating to GDPR, so I'll get into more details on that later on. So if any of you are interested in more tech-based information, stick around to the later half of the video. So for those new to my channel, I pretty much always focus on dividend-based stocks. Now, that's not to say that I would not buy a stock that does not pay dividends, but I would have to really like the underlying company to make such a purchase. Now, if you like the videos I supply, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. If you absolutely hate the videos, then just click the dislike button twice. So let's have a look at the first stock. Now we can see on the left hand side we have the company named Main Street Capital. For those unfamiliar, you can find a given company by their ticker symbol. So typing in MAIN is the ticker symbol for Main Street Capital. And so let's just open up the graph. So there's not actually much information given that the stock opened back in mid-January. So I'll just go onto the hour graph. Now I'm just showing on the screen that these companies are available on Trading212, but more interesting is how much dividends are paid out. So Main Street Capital pays out a dividend yield of 5.51%, and what's great about this stock is that it's paid out every month. So that was the first stock I wanted to show. Let's move on to the second. Quick announcement. Are you interested in starting your own investment journey and want to receive a free stock worth up to £100? All you have to do is create an account and deposit £30 or more. Trading212 is available for European residents also, so head over to the link in the description. Now, Main Street Capital is the only stock I wanted to talk about with respect to the finance sector. But before I fully switch over to the new stocks on Trading212 for the retail sector, I just want to point out that Realty Income also pays out dividends every single month as well. So that is another stock that pays on a monthly basis. Okay, so switching over to the real estate sector, the first stock to call out is the one with ticker symbol STOR, and we can see it on the drop down list here, but I already have it open from the side panel, so I'll just go back. And again, this stock opened in early of January, and what's important to know is that this stock pays a dividend yield of 3.69%. Now, the payouts of the dividends happen quarterly, so that's every 3 months. And so you may be thinking, well, why don't I just buy the previous stock that I mentioned, the one with ticker symbol MAIN, because it's a much higher yield and it pays out monthly. Well, this is where we talk about having a diversified portfolio. And so you don't want to place all of your eggs in the same basket. You want to spread out your risk and buy into a range of different companies, all of which are profitable and are solid companies. And so you just have to understand that some stocks pay more dividends, some pay less, but it's a much safer option to spread out your risk and diversify. Okay, so as far as I'm aware, those are all the new releases from Trading212. I'm sure there are others, but I now want to talk about other stocks that have been released back in 2019 or even earlier, but nonetheless are good to be called out. So the first one is LTC Properties. Again, I have it on the left-hand side of the screen, but for those following along, you can just type in the ticker symbol LTC and bring up the graph that way. So LTC is a real estate-based dividend stock, and the dividend yield is currently at 4.88%, so really nice number. On top of that, the stock also pays the dividends every month, so that's a third stock mentioned in this video that pays out dividends monthly. Now there's another stock that I want to talk about within the real estate industry, and it's NRZ. So the final real estate stock that I want to talk about is ticker symbol NRZ. So currently NRZ pays a dividend yield of 11.98%. Now for me, that's definitely a red flag. The dividends are extremely high, but at the same time, we are dealing with what's known as a REIT, an REIT. But regardless, almost 12% is extremely high for any type of company to pay out for the year. So that's something to keep in mind. Most likely the payout will reduce as a percentage. And while the payout is so high, I don't see why anyone shouldn't have this stock added to their portfolio. And the final point to make is that NRZ pays out dividends quarterly. So those are all the stocks that I wanted to cover in relation to the real estate that have been released on Trading 212 recently. Okay, so I want to talk about an article that I found in relation to GDPR. So GDPR stands for the General Data Protection Regulation, and it was a law that was set up and enforced by the EU. And it was a high-level idea that individuals that use a certain platform were able to request removal of their data from the site in question and to really hold applications or companies accountable to protecting your data and not passing them on to third parties, for instance. Now, on top of that, you may have noticed from the last couple of years, a lot of companies at the time and even now were making the users click on a pop-up to either accept or reject the terms and conditions. And so, for instance, I've got the ASOS website here, and we can see at the top we have this banner, so we just have to accept and allow permission for the cookies to be captured from your browser. Now, GDPR is a lot more complex than what I've stated, but I just want to go back to this article and talk about what actually happened. So there was an app which allowed you to install customized themes onto an Android phone, and the app developers actually pulled their app from the Android App Store back in early 2018, and it was most likely due to not being GDPR compliant. So speed forward 2 years or so, and this app is now back on the Android store. Now, personally, I've never used this application. I don't actually use Android either, but it's very interesting how an application which just changes the theme that you have on your phone can take 2 years or so of development time just so it is GDPR compliant. Now, for those who have used this app before, apparently not all the features are available. But at the same time, the company does state that the app is stronger than ever. So read into what you like there. So I know that was very short. There wasn't too much to talk about with respect to the article, but I just found it very interesting how a somewhat seemingly simple idea that GDPR introduces can really have a long-lasting effect on certain companies, especially those that were handling customer-related information. Now, I assume in the case of the MyUI Themes app, that given that they're able to control something such as the underlying skin, that touches a lot of areas within the operating system. And so most likely it was possible to retain a lot more information that would even be needed for such a change. So I'm guessing the team spent a couple of years redesigning the architecture of their system, and now they are fully GDPR compliant. So thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next one.